It's like,
Yeah.
you had your own. Working on that.
There was a bit of traffic right when you got on Graham.
And it's off the record,
yeah,
Scott.
there is.
We didn't start yet, so that's off the Call this meeting to order at 5:33 p.m. And if you will all join me with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Whoops. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I know, I need to break something.
Yeah. All right, if we can get an adoption of the agenda, please.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda for December 14th, 2021 as submitted.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion does carry. Leads us into our item 2A. We have a presentation from the Wickenburg Unified School District Ed Tech team. And we've got Mrs. Debbie Hodges to introduce our guest. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, welcome President Malio and Dr. Remendini and members of the board. I'd like to introduce you to Brendan Brennan. He is from the Ed Tech team, and he designed a session for us. We had a team of teachers, students, administrators, and even a board member in order to help us work through the process to design classrooms for our youngest students, looking into the for future ready classrooms. And he's here tonight. and he will introduce you to that process that we went through in October. Brendan?
Hey, good evening. I gotta tell you that it's the first time in 1,000 Zoom calls I've stood in my office and recited the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you for that. It was an interesting experience. So thank you, Debbie. My name is Brendan Brennan. I am a recovering 7th grade math teacher from Honolulu, Hawaii. But I also work at the University of Hawaii as a curriculum developer, education researcher, and a teacher trainer. And I'd say over the last 16 or 17 years, I've been fortunate enough to work with more than 7,000 teachers and more than 60 district and school leadership teams that were looking to transform their classrooms and their schools using education technology. And we learned a lot over that time on some of the best practices, because to be honest, the old way of doing it, which was just basically buying computers and handing them out, has been proven to be very expensive and very ineffective. In fact, there's no research that says technology alone improves student learning or academic success. So I'll share my screen real quick with you folks. File through this presentation. Everybody able to see it?
It's loading.
Okay. All right. So the program that we deployed to help schools and districts transform their learning spaces with education technology is called Future Ready. And Future Ready is really, sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. It's going to just be that. And really what we've learned over the last 20 years, again, the technology alone is not enough. That you really need to look at integrating technology using a holistic lens. And what we come up with here is the Future Ready concept, which was adopted by the U.S. Department of Education a number of years ago, and is still in practice in more than 7,000 districts, where it leverages not just technology itself, but developing courageous leadership and empowering teachers to take risks, right? Creating inspiring spaces for students to learn, engaging the community more meaningfully in the education process, making sure, of course, that there's robust infrastructure there as well as the technology. But all of this with the goal of creating really empowering and agentic spaces for students. Because at the end of the day, that's what we want. We want students to have confidence, the tools, and the knowledge to approach problems that are seemingly enormous to them when they leave our high schools and our colleges. But Future Ready is right? It's not a destination. We're never going to get there. Because if we've done anything in education over the last 150 years, is we've really been preparing kids for the world that we used to live in, but we really need to think about the world that they're going to enter into. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. So remember, you're always living in data. You're always trying to improve. It's organic, it's inclusive, and as long as you're willing to take the risks necessary to support the students of the future and the teachers of today, then you guys are going to be great. And the design team that you folks have, that you brought to the table, was fantastic. Brought a lot of knowledge to teachers and school leadership, district leadership. This was one of the only ones where we had a superintendent that was there, as well as a board member. This is the first time that we had a board member in one of these sessions. And of course, IT staff. And all of these folks were amazing to work with. But of course, the most important part of the design team are the students. You can't create a student-centered technology or transformation program unless they're sitting at the table, right? And when you include students as partners in creating and developing their spaces, they create ownership, they create empowerment, and all of a sudden you're going to see more kids engaged in learning because they were co-creators and co-designers. So here's our design team, and check it out. We got kids all over the place. We've got board members and teachers all engaged in this human-centered design process. What we do, you're not really familiar with it, is a process called design thinking. And most important part of design thinking is that it's human-centered and student-centered. So we really need to deploy high levels of empathy, right, to understand the challenges that students face, teachers face, administrators face, so we can design a space for them. Unlike traditionally, when we kind of top down with creating the space, and teachers and students and parents and everybody to try to fit their way into the spaces that we can create for them. and we're very much around 10 square foot. And then we define the problem that we're going to take on to empathy. Then we ideate, prototype, and test. And this is the problem that these prototypes, they're going to fail. They're not going to work sometimes. But learning is part of this process. And the more we prototype and test, the more we learn, and the better we get at doing this, right? But we will never, ever be perfect. So really, design thinking is a human-centered approach to innovation that pulls on the design toolkit to integrate new people, the possibilities of technology, and the requirements for learning success. And what we call the program here is Design 34. The reason we call it Design 34 is because you're not designing for today or next semester. You're basically designing for the incoming kindergartners that are going to graduate. I think this crew that's coming in this year will be graduating in 2034. So it's important for us to really imagine what they're going to be when they graduate, not tomorrow, but in 2034, right? How will they interact with people? What are the character traits they need? What do they need to know? What do they need to know how to do? What kind of jobs will they have? What technology skills will they have? Because if you imagine the class of 2034, you won't be able to talk to a human being at McDonald's or Starbucks, right? Robots will be making almost everything that we wear, that we eat, that we drive, if we're even driving in the year 2034. So being able to create flexible learning spaces that allow these kids to grow as they reach towards graduation status is paramount to supporting them the best way that we can. And you folks have a fantastic class of 34. I think these kids smile, they're ready to go. At this age, they're just so excited to be with each other, to be with school, that we have a huge opportunity to keep them engaged throughout the entire process. Because as you folks know, if you look at testing data and you look at the kids, a lot of times we start losing them in 8th and 9th and 10th grade. The test scores drop off the cliff and, they disengage and, we have problems with retention rates and all those things. But if we can design spaces for these kids and for the future, I think we're going to hold on to them. And I'll tell you what, working with this design team was fantastic. They went through 2 full days. They were creating some unbelievable learning spaces in the future, and also creating objectives and activities, real objectives and activities, tangible ones, that will help them to accomplish these learning spaces that they were designing. Right? And here's just one of them they were coming up with. The kids are going to be independent thinkers, having more individual learning spaces, clear communication channels, right? So it's no longer just about the technology that's there, right? It's this holistic approach, becoming future ready. And here's another one. These student focused. These are some great pictures of flexible, nimble spaces. They've got to be collaborative. They've got to be formative. And technology is as much a tool for them as paper and pencil was for us. Right? It's got to be integrated. It's no longer an option for us anymore because these kids are going to need technology tools in the future. And of course, flexibility is super important. So, looks like I hit that in 10 minutes. So I thought I was a little bit rushed. But I was warned that you guys are strict to the agenda. So I'm going to stop sharing and open it up for about 5 minutes of questions.
Who has a question for Brendan? Anybody?
Not everybody at once.
Yeah, what are the next steps?
So I think the team has done a great job of capturing the necessary activities and objectives to develop these learning spaces. Right, so there is an actionable roadmap to do these things. But I think the team needs to work, again, I think exiting the 2 days that we had, and 2 days is never enough. 10 days is never enough, and as teachers know, 180 days is never enough, right? So I think continuing to develop the plan, I think creating committees that are loaded with all the stakeholders, including board members, to really drive success towards those objectives. Obviously, there needs to be allocations for funding for some of them don't need funding. But I think right now, the team has an excellent foundation in understanding of where they want to go and some of the risks that they're going to have to take to get there and those tangible steps necessary for success.
Very good. Anybody else? Ron, you good? Well, Brendan, I want to thank you for your presentation. It was inclusive, and we had it ahead of time, so we were able to ask a couple questions ahead of time anyway. So, but
Okay, but I was hoping it was all going to be new and fresh and exciting for everybody.
it was very fresh. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I was so inspired by the team that was there, right? I never know what to expect, but I can tell you, having worked with so many districts, that I know what's necessary for success. And I also know the ingredients that are required for lack of success. And just the sheer will that the participants, especially those kids, those kids were fantastic. And they were equal partners in creating these spaces. And I think a lot of their feedback was instrumental in the spaces and the objectives and activities that were created by the team as a whole. So I'm really excited to see what you folks do next and the success that you have. And as always, happy to support you in any way that I can. I love working with the team. To be honest, I love that drive from LA. It is absolutely breathtaking. So I'll make it anytime.
Well, and I can say, as the board member who got to be a part of this experience, that everybody that was there really wants to take the next step. Like, they were all ready to, let's try one of these techniques. Let's experiment. How do we get this going, and really come up with these, take the ideas that we've come up with and actually implement some and see how it works. And it was a great experience for me, and I wish all the board members, you guys need to be a part of it somehow, because
I do have a question, and I don't know if it's for Brendan or our lead here, but have we started putting together a plan of action and milestones to reach this 2034 classroom?
So I'm going to answer that for you, Brendan. So we did not complete all of those 6 components during our design tech. We still have 2 more that we need to go through. One is community engagement, and the other is robust infrastructure. But because of the sizes of our team, we wanted to make sure that the other components were represented. So we do have more work to do on that. And then part of our work with the ed tech team and Brendan and Chris Bell is the other gentleman that's working with us. They will work with us once we get those other 2 components done into creating the plan. Okay, so this was the process that we went through, and this process, we have a draft plan, but we have some more work to do on the draft, and then we will come back with the plan.
And if I could just add to that, Debbie, there's always something. I understand how I come from Hawaii. There is no denser bureaucracy. It's the largest full state district in the country, right? I mean, it's tough to get through some of these things. There's a lot of traditional red tape, but these guys came up with a great idea that can be done tomorrow, and that's starting with some of these innovation labs, these small classrooms where you can have teachers that are maybe tech savvy, that take risks, right, they're willing to take some chances, and they can start to serve as model classrooms in the future where other teachers and students can come in, observe, they can go to labs there, you can have field trips there for the elementary school, including cool things, have cool technology and, movable student-centered furniture and all this stuff. And I think that's low-hanging fruit. And if you have those innovation labs, you'll learn a lot by what goes on in there, with the successes and the failures, which will help you to further expand on the design that you've already created over these last 2 days. So creating risk-taking places with empowered teachers that have the tools, time, and trust to manage those spaces, I think is the best thing you can do immediately that sets the stage for the future.
So the question then, I guess, for Debbie, then, you have these other things that you have to flesh out and a plan. So, just rough timeline. when will we hear from you next?
That's a loaded question.
I mean, yeah, I mean, you know, 6 months, you know.
Oh, I would hope it would be done for our ed tech plan that we are working with the ed tech team. I would hope that it would be done in the next quarter. And then, but the process of actually implementing and things like that, that would be ongoing, because this isn't just a plan for a year, it's a plan for several years moving forward. So we just, yes, it takes a while to put everything, with everything else going on, to get it on the calendar and get it moving and completed. So yes, I would hope in the next quarter, by March.
Well, I mean, you have 12 years, you know.
Go ahead, Brendan.
So, no, and I think that's actually how the teachers design what they have now, right? So that it's organic and it's formative. Far too often, we as educators, we create a 3-year or a 5-year plan, and many times it's not successful or it's not followed through with. But this design team builds in actual activities and objectives that allow it to be formative from year to year, so you can pivot towards areas of weakness. So it's not an all or nothing plan, where you're not spending $20 million on 5,000 Chromebooks, and then all of a sudden realize the teachers and students don't know how to use it, and then we go on to the next flavor of the week, right? It's fantastic that they have designed that part of this, that it's formative and reactive to needs and weaknesses as well as strengths.
Thank you.
I guess that's it. We're good.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Brendan.
Thanks,
Take care,
Brendan.
Brendan.
My pleasure.
Everyone else has left the call. You disconnected your phone from the meeting.
Okay, so our next presentation is our classified salary schedule, presented by Valerie Shumway and Aaron Johnson.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Remendini. Thank you for having us this evening. Valerie and I are very pleased to give this presentation. It's been a long time coming, and a goal of mine for quite some time. So we're going to discuss the classified placement guide and the restructure of it and how we got here. So first, I'm going to provide a little bit of history. Our placement guide has become compressed. I don't know if any of you have looked at it recently on our website, but this is a result of various budget constraints that we've had over the years. So, for example, in 2018, Governor Ducey enacted the 20 by 2020 law, excuse me, that resulted in a 20% increase by 2020 for certified staff. While this was overdue and much needed for our teachers, it was not a fully funded mandate that we had to comply with. So, put some constraints on the budget. Inflation, you've heard me talk about that from time to time, especially recently. So the amount that we receive from the state is typically less than what the actual inflation amount is. As an example, the inflation rate that is impacting our upcoming minimum wage increase is 5.3%, but the district only receives 2%. So we have to fill in the gap for that. Funding formula, you've also heard us talk about that quite a bit. So the state of Arizona has never, well, I shouldn't say never, has not fully funded districts in the state just based on their formulas that they have. The data that they use to set the expenditure limits for districts is based on data from 1980, and they have not updated it. I know, it's a chuckle. And then, of course, minimum wage. There's been considerable increases to minimum wage since 2017. We had a predictable increase until 2020, so they had the set amounts for us. And then beginning in 2021, it was based on inflation. And as I indicated earlier, this year it's at 5.3%. So all of these items have put constraints on our budget, which has resulted in the district not being able to address the classified placement guide until now.
So the history that Aaron has described has created, like she said, a compensation in our classified wages. This has affected our ability to be competitive when hiring, and something that, like Erin said, we have been concerned about for some time. So we are looking forward to this. An example of the compression on our current compensation guide, if you look at our grades 5 to 9, they do not have a range that would allow compensation for years of experience, nor is there a separation of skill sets. So all the steps are at minimum wage. We felt these elements did not allow the district to compete well for new employees in the current job market. So we began a formal process by doing a market study of other districts. We gathered data from surrounding districts that are around us. We gathered data from districts that compete with us for employees. We gathered data from like-sized districts, and also data from rural and urban districts like ourselves, so that we could determine if we were getting a broad enough perspective of what was happening in the wage market. We also reviewed the other districts' job descriptions to see how they compared to ours and our compensation. And we closely evaluated hard-to-fill positions like our bus drivers and our special education paraprofessionals. We compared salary ranges and our descriptions to make them consistent with the actual duties that the employees need to perform. Positions and responsibilities have changed a lot over the years, and our job descriptions and our placement guide had not. So we compared them to try to make them consistent. We evaluated all the district's positions and helped create an updated new hire schedule that would help us create a new hire schedule that would allow for growth and improvement and help with recruitment and retention.
So where did we end up? So we were able to take the placement guide and reduce it down to 7 grades from 20 plus. As Valerie stated, we updated job descriptions and created 3 new ones. With the new grades, we feel there's more opportunity for growth. For example, we now have 3 levels for our paraprofessionals, starting at grade 1, 2, and 3. So with each of those, they move up a grade if they move up in the para position. The new guide has ranges on it now, which are based on the current minimum wage at grade 1, and then the levels go up from there based on a formula. And once we finalized the guide, we reviewed the job descriptions and aligned them with the appropriate grades, as Valerie also mentioned. In this process, once we got the placement guide set in place where we felt comfortable with it, we went through it and we reviewed all of our classified staff to be sure that they were compensated correctly based on the new guide. So those that are at or above the step and grade for their position will not change. For those that are not, we are proposing an increase to their salary to be sure they are in line with the new guide. So no one's going down, some are going up, some are staying the same based on whether you guys approve or not. So with these changes, we are hopeful that they will assist us in retaining and recruiting new classified staff. Are there any questions? We covered it?
Wow, good. Good job.
I can think of with it.
Good.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you for that.
Thank you for doing that. It was something that needed to be done.
Long ago.
Appreciate it.
Very good. All right, so item C is the section for recognitions and or proclamations. Anybody on the board have any recognitions this evening?
I do.
Okay, Sandy?
I had the privilege of being the judge for the spelling bees. And I did it Hacienda and Ultra Bee. But what I want to say is that when I did Hacienda, they brought all the grades in. They all sat on the gym floor, and they were so quiet and so respectful to the kids that were spelling, and I was just in awe. I just thought that was wonderful, and I did tell Mrs. Hershkowitz how impressed I was. And at Vulture Peak, they didn't bring the kids, any other of the kids in, other than the ones that were participating in the spelling bee. But they, too, were very quiet and respectful of the person who was spelling. So, anyway, I was very happy about it.
Well, thanks for doing that, Sandy.
It was fun.
Randy, anything on your end?
Nothing that I can think of right now.
Susan? Ron?
Yes, I just want to recognize the, I just want to recognize the Festival at Foothills Music Program. They had 4 separate little concerts this past week. And Amanda Bubb, just, has a great music program out there. And I just wanted to recognize that.
Very good. I would like to just take a second, based on the presentation we just had with Brendan and parts of the Ed Tech team. I want to recognize those folks for putting in the time and digging in and getting something moving in a progressive manner. So thank you for doing that. Dr. Remendini, do you have any?
I do. Thank you so much. I too want to congratulate our music departments for their performances this month. The Vulture Peak Choir and had 3 high school students perform on December 2nd. That was an amazing concert. It was beautiful. Students from Festival Foothills performed 4 concerts. I thought it was only 3. 4 concerts. I got to attend one of them. And the Hacienda Coyote Chorus entertained the district office and some of our neighborhood friends in the community just this Monday. So congratulations and special thanks to directors Camille Boyle and Amanda Bubb for their work on providing students opportunities to perform. And I always say I love music. I love watching students perform. All the world is right when a kid is on stage. And I just sit there and sob like a baby when they're performing because it just touches my heart. They're just amazing. I also want to thank and show appreciation to the Wickenburg High School CTE departments, including construction, culinary arts, stagecraft, and film for Santa Fest a couple of Saturdays ago. Director Rose Garcia and staff members James Madsen, Juan Jimenez, Sue Baker, Howard Purcell, and Cynthia Zuna, and of course Santa Claus, made the event meaningful to the young and the young at heart. That was very well attended and a lot of fun. And I got my picture taken with Santa Claus and sent it to my granddaughter, but she told me it wasn't the real Santa because she was seeing the real Santa at the same time. But I will not argue with a 5-year-old on who knows the real Santa. So anyway, and also thanks to the work for Aaron and Valerie and their teams for the work they did on the new salary placement schedule. I trust that the governing board knows how important that is and how special that is. Especially Aaron finding the funding to make sure that we can truly compensate our staff and the way they need to be, and attract and retain future employees. And then congratulations to all our students and staff for a successful first semester of the school year. I want to wish everyone a safe and happy holiday season and look forward to seeing our students finish this week and then come back on Monday, January 3rd. So,
Very good. Thank you, Dr. Remendini. We will move along to our principal reports, and first up we've got Festival Foothills Elementary and the principal, Mrs. Julie Case. So, Randy, would you like to start?
Sure. As usual, good report. One thing I was just amazed at was the fundraiser that the PTA put on at the students and everyone that entered that race fun run, and I just couldn't believe $12,000 raised. That was.
They didn't use a company, so all of that went back to what they have their cost prices that they bought.
Well, it sounds like, they were able to take care of it without having to hire an outside job. It was wonderful. Congratulations to that whole thing. Thank you. That's all I have, really. Good report.
All right, Sandy?
he stole what I was gonna say. Yeah, I was just blown away by the money, which, when you say they didn't have an outside company, I just really like that, because so often you see the kids out selling candy bars or whatever, and they get 20 cents on the bar, you know? And so it's good to know that if you kind of just do it yourself, you can raise a lot of money and you get to keep it in the program. So that's something we all ought to think about instead of selling candy bars. I have written down here that the literacy and the science and the math, you know, the little things that they were doing were just great ideas, were really good. Like everyone was very happy to participate and having a good time. And then of course I'm always happy when there's a positive impact on Boulder. I'll leave something for something.
Susan, did she leave anything for you?
I just wanted to, we looked at the feedback number 2 data. Is that showing improvements everywhere?
So we also looked at our growth report, and so all of our students, they exceeded their expected growth.
Okay.
And it shows it by grade level and by class, so they did. However, we know that we still have a lot of work to do, so we are focusing on that. And Jennifer Mivano, our instructional coach, and I, we have been doing data digs with our team. I finished them up today with the last group of teachers. So during the prep, they come and we actually sit down to the data, go over all of it, and take the actual highlights.
Awesome. So, I mean, obviously the fun run looked really fun.
It was really fun. Dr. Lee was there that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going, what is going on here? A lot of bubbles.
Awesome. That's all I had. Thank you.
Ron.
That looks like you're still growing.
And actually, I think we have more students than what's on this report, and we're expecting, I believe, 6 or 7 more on January 1st.
Great.
Yeah, but and with the class sizes, I was just curious. How do you manage the large numbers with like one teacher? or I think first grade you did split that, didn't you?
We have a first grade, a 1-2 combo, and a second grade.
Okay.
But our new kindergarten teacher just started a few weeks ago, and we had a permanent substitute in 5th grade that our person that we hired, hopefully will have her certificate too, and we'll start after grade. We just have some areas that are still a while.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And there's in the discipline report, aggression. What comes under aggression? It seems like a large number of kids in the aggression category.
For that one, I mean, it could be fighting or anything else, so a lot of ours is recklessness, playing around, throwing things or things like that. But I'll
Okay.
do that one.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. They're being aggressive there. Yeah. What's that equate to? Is that okay? Thanks. No, that's
I
all.
wrote that down this morning.
Oh, wait, is that what you were gonna ask?
No.
Oh,
No, what I wanted to go back and ask is, you know, as we all know, we've all been struggling. The kids have all been struggling because of the pandemic and what has happened in the last couple of years and everything. And, you know, looking at your data and everything. But do you feel like the kids are now starting to get back into the groove of being back in school and starting to move ahead?
Well, I think it's still a process, it's still working, because if you think about some of our first graders, second graders, we had a lot of new kids who, they were not in school at all. We had several kids come from California who had never entered a school building until first grade. And so, or they were in another district that didn't start until after school break, so they had to keep in the building. So we did see, our school safety team met this morning and we were looking at our data. So like our numbers of incidents in our younger grades have kind of diminished because they're now starting to understand what the procedures and expectations of the school are. And so we're still working on that. Our counselor is still working on going into classrooms, working on SEL and other areas.
Good. Well, Julie, great report. They cover everything, so I just need to compliment you on a great report. And I like Dr. Remendini when she was talking about kids and when they perform and whatnot. When I see these pictures like this, I mean, the kids are just all beaming. They're in school and they're beaming like that. It's like they're special, you know, and you guys make it special. I like that. So.
And the nice part about the dance and science night, both our, well, our fourth grade, they had to stay with their projects and demonstrate, and then our fifth grade, they had reports that they would answer questions and talk with people. So,
That's really neat. Good. Well, thank you, Julie. Great job. All right, our second principal report is Hacienda Elementary School, and our principal, Mrs. Carissa Hershkowitz. And why don't we start with Ron this time?
Okay. Just a minute. Let me get my pictures up here. I have my notes, but then I have to see what I was actually writing my notes about. The Mrs. Hadley Garden Project. I'm just curious as to what she was doing any more than what was in your report.
She just got notified that she's receiving the grant money, so now it's a matter of identifying what it's going to look like. So she's looking at a garden project where her kids go out and into it, watch the road and nursery.
So there's a space on the campus here where you're going to put it in?
In between the gym and the cafeteria, we've got some area there.
Okay, good. Okay, school gardens are, an interesting project if you can get it going.
Right.
And just curious, did she work with the extension office at all? You know? They have things that they can give you from down there that, particularly being a Title I school,
Right.
they have a lot of help that they can give for school gardens.
Oh, okay.
So I can't think of the person's name that is in charge down there, but just call the office down there and tell them what you're looking for. They can set you up.
Right.
So. Okay.
Good.
I'm good.
Susan?
Yeah, I had some questions about the Acadian stuff. I think really just the graphs in general, red is bad and blue is good. I mean, that was the, okay. So that was what I figured. And some of the red was growing. So what are we doing?
Well, in some areas, the test changes from the major to the middle area. That happens in kindergarten and first grade, and a little bit in second grade. So some of it is a matter of maybe what and like festival, we had our daily review, where increases, decreases, which we are part of, and like festival as well, we have a lot of increases.
Yeah, so that's a good question then. So the number right now is 298. What did we start with? Do you know? I mean, I could go look back, but I didn't. Okay. I'll have to look that up. Okay.
For an example, I have one classroom with 25 students. 9 of them are moving.
Yeah. That's good. Growth is good. Yeah, and I enjoyed the field trip picture because I'm sure, were you there when my son was on the stage?
Yeah.
He's in the picture.
Yeah.
And he danced, and I saw video, and it was awesome. He got to be on stage with the orchestra. It was really fun. Yeah, so it looked like a great time.
That was really great for obviously the North Valley Symphony was wonderful. Just loading our students on buses again to go that short distance, those are cool. And with a lot of the teachers, it's so hard about loading a bus. Yeah. We've done this 100 times. Oh, no. We've done it in 2 years.
Yeah.
It was all new.
And you had it down to a science before. I mean, I remember. I rode the bus. Mm-hmm.
So it was really good. Those are the healthy things that are getting back to some sense of normalcy. That's a big deal. And then sitting at the West Center, it's always a big deal for the learners. And that's a big difference. Everybody.
Awesome. That's all I had. Good luck.
Sandy?
Well, I'm not gonna talk about grades tonight because we've already discussed.
Okay, good.
So, you're free in that one. I like this counselor's corner, because I do think with the kids not being in school or new kids coming in and all that stuff, I'm glad to see we're addressing that and, are being there for the kids. I think that's really important. And then the only thing I was excited about the garden. But it's sort of like an excitement and a negative all at the same time. Because I know quite a few years ago, right out here, APS had given money to do a garden. And it's no longer there. So I guess my thought with this one is I'm hoping that if we get this project going, that it's not a 6-month project and then it's over and not sustained.
Well, keep in mind that when that project was done, half the upper was here, and it was really good. So it was a whole movement of the school into the new building, and that was prior to the new building. So I hope that the space that we have is
No, so that was my hope is if we get this garden started, I would like to see it, especially with Ron, Mr. Gardner, if we can get all this free help and information, I just think it's wonderful.
I don't know if you've heard about the bowl that is in our back 40, the back center, but I think that would be a great place for like orange trees and something, part of that.
Sounds great. I love orange.
Pomegranates. Those are good.
Randy?
Okay, good report. Everybody's pretty much hit the top items I was thinking about here. I love seeing these updates for campus updates on what's really going on in the schools. Again, I want to reemphasize what Sandy said about the counselor's corner. With some of the stuff going on today, we're seeing things, bullying and things like that. The character counts program is something that's really worth staying on. And how say the kids are enjoying learning on this, with their strong emotions on the social and emotional learning part, so important. So I'm glad you're emphasizing that. I hope stay strong with this as early as you are with the kids at the young dates, or as young as they are, because it only escalates, when it gets further in middle school and high school and that. So, and the high school's already on top of that. There's no place for hate and things. So I like to see it starting real early with the kids. So thank you. Good report for us.
We have great needs, and we're fortunate to social emotional learning classes every afternoon. So she essentially sees every child in school every week.
Good. Thanks, Carissa.
And last but not least, the school website. You know, I'm a troll of the websites for the district, and I'm proud yours is up to date, just like it says. You're right on it. And a Facebook post and things like that. So congratulations on everything that my fellow board members have already talked about, and congratulations on a great report again. Thank you so much. Now we have Vulture Peak Middle School and our acting principal, Mr. Clint Bushbaum. And I think Randy gets to start this time.
Okay. Congratulations and welcome to stepping up there, Clint, or filling in for principal for VP. I know these middle school students, it's real trying times with those kids, and I'm sure you're learning a lot after just being at the high school. You can see what's coming towards you. But good job on the report. As I said, I like seeing the campus updates, which, yeah, you have a few there. I like the Veterans Day celebrations. I like to see the kids get involved with that stuff. Yeah, good luck and good report, Clint. Thank you.
Sandy?
Well, you said most of what I was going to talk about that day too, because that was special. And the fact that the kids got to have a dance was really nice. I just think it's wonderful that we're able to bring our children back to some normalcy. And, you know, hopefully with that, we're going to see some growth. And that just makes me happy. I think these kids have been away from school and away from activities and away from so many things. And I think it's, if we can bring some normalcy back into their life, I think that's a plus.
Susan?
Hi. A couple things not really on your report, but I just wanted to ask, how are the students doing with you as the principal? How do you feel kind of being there? You know, glad you're better, not sick anymore.
Yeah.
How's that going?
No, everyone's been very welcoming to me. It's a different world, obviously, going to middle school. I'm pretty far from that age, but the staff's been great, the students been great. I started with you for the planning to start over there, but no, I think that they're just been great. So, proud of their school. To your point with the dance, they're excited to start doing normal things again for them. So more and more they get to be exposed to traditional school experience after them.
Good, good. And then I just have one other question, because I know there's no band director right now. So what are the band kids doing?
So they've been staying, because before they were traveling over to us.
Yeah.
Because we had no one. For a while they were doing study hall with us at high school. And then it really messed up the way so that had to come across the Washington study hall. So we kept them over on our campus in the library and doing their homework there, which is not ideally we wanted to have to do, but we're hoping that in place with that we can get back into and
Well, fingers crossed. We need band. We need it. It's great. Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Ron?
I'm just so happy we had somebody that like you to step in for the principal's job there. The CBAS data as it comes out, you know, and I say this all the time. You know, I look at it, it doesn't tell me anything. So in your analysis of this, what do you tell me of the students' performance here?
Yeah, at first glance, especially if you come into the new place to look at it, it's a little bit concerning because of look where they're at, what the numbers are at. But then when you look deeper
kind of to Julie's point, when you look at growth data, that's what's more encouraging to see the trend and the trajectory of the kids. A little bit better. When we talk about math, they had a huge growth from the previous CBAS to the second. So if they will continue in that trajectory, they're going to be in a great spot for the next CBAS that they have. What needs to happen in all three, both science, English, and math, is what will happen now is we'll look at the standards and look where we the most proficient. We do some reteaching. We're on a good pace with our mapping. We do look at that and we make some tweaks to that. I know with our math, they felt good about some of the content on the test they had to get covered, which isn't always great, but in this situation, actually, is what we're trying to do, make sure that we have our assessment skills they're ready to go. So they felt actually very confident in that the next test, after they were to get some more of the content covered, those were a much better spot. So a lot of that is just really diving deep into the data and looking at, okay, is this a situation where we need to reteach, or we need to just tweak some of the instructional settings we're doing? And also, and this is something that does the high school, sometimes it's just the way in which the kids are exposed to certain kinds of questions that awfully confuse them. Sorry, it can confuse them based on when they have a question that has multiple responses. That's usually the questions that our kids will correct. More than one correct answer. So what we started doing was asking all of our contents, whether it be end of the lesson for a kick out the door or a fellow assignment, can you give them questions that are going to have some of those designs? So our kids aren't going off when they have questions that A, B, B, and C, all of the above, none of the above, those things. We saw a big growth just based on that alone. And the more we can expose our kids to those close reading challenges, they can look through the text and decipher that and then do a quick, short writing prompt. Those things really help our kids as well. So that I feel the high school helped us really get the jump. I know that middle school, that's a lot of conversations we're having right now. It's helping all of our departments, content areas help those.
So a lot of just test taking type technique is a lot of it.
Some of that is, yeah. Obviously that goes along with, we can still teach all of our content, but it's just making a small tweak to really help when you have those questions. Because sometimes the kids know the material, but the way it's worded throws them off and they don't spend enough time on it. So it's a little thing that actually makes a difference.
Yeah, okay. All right. Hey, thank you.
The only thing I have, Clint, is a good report, by the way. Good information inside there. Is if you can bring your best costume and build up and get us over 200. We're at 193 on this report.
Oh.
We need kids. Bring them. We'll give you a bus. You go get them. That's off the record. Okay. Scott's still off the record. Okay. Anyway, thanks, Clint, and welcome to our little team here. It's a great little team. All right, so our next item is call to the public. Do we have anybody in the public that wishes to address the board for anything that's not on the agenda? Nope. That was pretty sweet and easy. Now we have our consent agenda. Any board member need anything pulled from the agenda before we take action on it? Hearing none, we can entertain a motion for that.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items for December 14th, 2021 as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion does carry. Thank you. Moving us along to item 5, which is our action items. We have our request for approval of financial reports presented by our Executive Director of Business Services, Mrs. Erin Johnson.
Good evening again. I feel like a broken record quite often with these financial reports, but I guess it's not such a bad thing because we're continuing to trend well. Our expenditures are looking good as we move through the year. We're right on pace with where I feel like we should be in both M&O and in capital. So our budget balances are positive, we're in compliance, and there are no surprises to the best of my knowledge.
Perfect. Any questions for Aaron? How about a motion for Aaron?
I'll make a motion to approve the financial report as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion also carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 5B, action item, first reading of policy advisories. And you see the small list in front of you. Anybody have anything that they wanted to discuss on that short list?
Nothing for me.
All right. All right, so what we're going to do is we are coming upon an executive session, so we're going to take a short break at this point so we can get things organized and people can get themselves organized. Thank you, everybody. We're in a 5-minute recess.